Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, December the 5th, 2021. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube. We're going to go over sea ice, methane, some climate items, Palma, and we'll look at NASA Worldview. And I have an article to share tonight too. So, first of all, I want to say that, I wanted to thank, I got some donations in this week, and I really want to thank the people from the bottom of my heart for those donations. I really appreciate it, and it'll help out a lot. I'm not monetized on YouTube, and I do have a small group on Subscribestar that I post to every day, and we'd love to have you over there if you'd like to join us. But I do this Sunday on YouTube for everyone, and as a weekly roundup. We made it through another week. Every week is just getting harder and harder. And I'll go ahead and start. First of all, I wanted to show that CAMS is falling behind on posting methane and carbon dioxide. Their latest posting for these two was for Wednesday, December the 1st. So we'll look at that. And then we'll look at the Noaa data for Thursday and from Friday and Saturday. But I wanted to start off with this article, and I posted it in my community section. This is from Environmental News Network. This is recent, from November 30th, and it says, rainfall in the Arctic will soon be more common than snowfall. This is from the University of Manitoba in Canada. And their little subheadline says, changes will happen decades earlier than previously thought. And, that's the sentiment everywhere. And faster than expected, earlier than previously thought, decades earlier. So we're in the midst of abrupt, irreversible, runaway climate change. And so what I'm doing is just kind of documenting how things are falling apart. From the things that I research. So this is just a short post. More rain than snow will fall in the Arctic, and this transition will occur decades earlier than previously predicted, a new study led by the University of Manitoba reports. Projections from the latest models published by an international team of researchers led by in the journal Nature Communications show a steep increase in the rate and range of precipitation expected to fall in the Arctic, and that most of these future events will be rain. This shift is occurring due to rapid warming, sea ice loss, and poleward heat transport in the Arctic. There are huge ramifications of these changes, which we note in the paper, such as a reduction of snow cover, increased permafrost melt, more rain on snow events, and greater flooding events from increased river discharge, all of which have implications on wildlife populations and human livelihoods. And this comes from the lead researcher, Michelle McChrystal. So, and if you want to read more, they've got a link, continue reading here at University of Manitoba. But the bottom line is things are happening decades sooner than what we've been told, and there are lots of implications to the rain in the Arctic. Now, if we look at Climate Reanalyzer, now we've been seeing rain further north here. We saw rain at Greenland this last week, and see it's raining on the southern end of Iceland today, and rain is coming up off the coast of Norway, and see it's also coming across the Aleutian Islands. And the Arctic region is considered starting at about the 66th degree north latitude line. Now this is 60 here, so 66 is just a little bit further up. So about where Greenland is and coming across. So there's a lot of area that's in that area, north of that, and permafrost, a lot of permafrost to thaw out, and we've been seeing that already. And so with rain over these Arctic regions, it's just very bad. It'll cause things to melt faster and to thaw out faster. And of course, as far as sea ice, it depends on what time of year it's raining. If it's in the winter, then we can pretty much forget about sea ice. If it's in the summertime, then if it's over where whatever little ice is left, then that'll melt that much faster. So articles like that are just little tidbits of saying, oh yeah, it's coming decades earlier than we expected. Well, it's here, and they're hopeful. Oh, we've got to keep everything under 3C. Well, if you read Sam Carana's latest blog post, he thinks that we might have already crossed 2C, and in my mind, I think we've already crossed 3C, just because we're seeing evidence of that with all the different changes in the environment. So here we're going to start with the Noaa data. Now, I didn't do a show yesterday for my Subscribe members, and so I'm covering the Noaa data from Friday as well in my show today, so Friday and Saturday. So this is for the third Friday for the MET-OT-1, aka MET-OT-B satellite, which is the only one that we have readings on now, for the 477/469 millibar reading. This is for the morning. The mean or average was 1922 parts per billion. The high reading was 2429. We can see all this white, that's missing data. And see, it's over almost all the Pacific and a lot of Africa and the Middle East there, and a lot of Australia. In the afternoon, the mean was 1921. The high reading was 2477. And then here for yesterday, the 4th, back to the morning, the mean was 1921. The high reading was 2421. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1921, and the high reading was 2406. Here's the spreadsheet and chart. So for the 23rd, that averaged out to be 1921.5 parts per billion. That was an increase over the day before of 1 part per billion. And then for the 4th, it averaged out to be 1921 with a slight decrease of 0.5 parts per billion. That gives us an overall decrease for the week of 4 parts per billion. And we're 20 parts per billion higher than we were a year ago. So, what happened this week, it's been going down steadily all week. So here we were in the show last week where we were at 1925 for Saturday, November 27th, and then no change on Sunday, and then it went down 1 on Monday, went down 1.5 on Tuesday, went down 1 on Thursday, 1 on Friday, and then it went up 1 on Saturday, and down 0.5 part per billion. On Saturday. I think I got off on my days. Anyway, you get the idea. Now here's our chart with the weekly data. So here it is for the 4th at 1921, showing a decrease of 4 parts per billion. So here's our blue line going down now, 3 weeks in a row. And so we peaked out for this season, this year, at 1936 parts per billion on October the 2nd. And that was that little peak right there. And now we're headed pretty much steadily down. How long will the cooling season last? Usually it lasts until around the end of December or the first part of January now that things have changed. Before, it used to last until like March or April. But the last few years it's started going up. Here. So the rising time, where it's increasing, is much longer than the amount of time where it's decreasing. So methane is out of control, and we just don't know what's going to happen. We're in uncharted territories. So we're going to go over to CAMS now. I have Wednesday, December 1st pulled up. You notice there are only 2 little drop down columns. That's because this is the only day they have up now is Wednesday. So there's no column for the days. And we've seen this happen before, and a lot of times in December or early January, CAMS will do a pause in between reporting I've seen it up to 10 days, and then they start releasing data, and I have to start recording it as soon as it comes up so I don't miss any. So we're going to start on the Arctic View and surface level. Here's our color ledger. So the data is for Wednesday, and the forecast period is Thursday through Sunday. So we can see it's blowing out here around Komsomolets, and it's spreading out. So look, here's Wednesday. Now watch on Thursday. Look at how it's just blowing out there. We also have it coming up here in the Laptev Sea and then swirling around in this East Siberia Sea. And this arm flings out. See, watch this arm. It's going to fling out from Komsomolets. See, here it comes. And it flings out across to Canada. And see, it looks kind of like a kaleidoscope coming around. It's also still real high on this north coast of Alaska at Koktovik. We can see Norway over to Russia has come back to life, and these high readings coming across Russia, and you can see the waves just moving across. So even with methane going down overall, it's still quite high in certain places, especially in the northern hemisphere. And here in the Arctic. So now we'll go to the North Pole view. See, India is still filled up and it's still spilling over in the Bengal Bay and this Arabian Sea, China. So you've got waves still coming off of China. It's filling up. Korea. See these waves bursting out and moving out across the Pacific there. We have another wave coming off of North America, sweeping across the Atlantic, and the U.S. looks awful, and you can see areas of just these big blobs of this darkest color, that highest region, and it's a range between 2160 and 10,000 parts per billion. Anywhere in that range. And see, California's covered up and spewing out in the Pacific Ocean, and that's not looking good. Texas, see, all the way across. It's just unbelievable. And life goes on. You know, life goes on. The majority of the world has no idea, and they don't care. And it's, you know, it's too late. This is the Antarctic view. Now, this background color is down into the dark blue now, which is right down here. It's 1800 parts per billion. That's the main background color for the southern hemisphere. And we're unable to see the outline of the Antarctic because the black line, it fades in with the dark blue. But where you see the light blue, it's outlining this Antarctic coastline in a lot of areas. We have a lot of methane popping up in certain areas. This is the Amory ice shelf here. Here's the east side of the coast. Okay, here, this is southwest of the Ross Ice Shelf. That's around the coastline there. This is near the Pine Island Glacier, right in here. This is on the west side of the Western Peninsula, and then this whole east side of the peninsula, it's covered up with methane spewing up. It's also coming up here in the Weddell Sea through the ice. See, I'm going to pause it. Okay, here it is at the beginning of Wednesday, and here it is. See, a whole bunch coming up here in the Weddell Sea, and this is at the Brunt Ice Shelf, and then at the north end. So we've got a lot of methane that you wouldn't expect to see in the Antarctic. But the sun is up, and it's getting higher and higher in the sky, and the winter solstice will be, I think, December 19th, and that'll be the longest day of the year for the South Pole, and where the sun will be pretty much overhead, and it's the shortest day of the year for the Northern Hemisphere. So I expect to see methane continuing throughout their summertime. Now we'll go to the global view. We're starting to see these purplish, see the purple there in the Atlantic. That's a lower reading, and here in the Indian Ocean, and here just north of Australia, and a little bit of purple haze here in the Pacific. So this dark blue you can see is the main background color down here from about the equator south. We still have mainly green as the background color for the continental areas north of the equator. And the dark green is 1920 parts per billion. That's this color here. Then it just goes up from there. Here's 500 HPA, and we've got, look at this heavy band, kind of in a semicircle coming up. This is China, where it connects with Russia, and then it's like this semicircle coming around. It swoops up over Kamchatka, and then over the Pacific we have another heavy band here in the Aleutian Islands region. Then the reds, here's another heavy reading here just north of Norway. We've got some blues popping up here in the middle of the Atlantic, and some aquas are popping up here in this southern hemisphere. I'm going to close that one out. Now we'll go ahead and go through these few pictures. This is sulfur dioxide for today, and it's still coming up at La Palma. And La Palma has been erupting since September the 19th. See the red here in China, that's from pollution. Also India, that's from pollution. And we can see red here at Saudi Arabia and so on. Here it is at 500 HPA. Now, why are we having a high reading here off the coast of Antarctica? I don't know. Let's go back. There's something, so we have sulfur dioxide coming up down here too. So this is not too far from the South Sandwich Islands region, so it could be related to the earthquake activity down there. See, normally it's not that high down here. This is at 500 HPA. Here's the ozone hole over the Antarctic today. It's still quite large. It's gradually going down. Everything inside this black line is in the danger zone, and so most of the continent is in the danger zone. It goes down 3 levels, and even the aqua and the blue, green, and the greens, it's quite thin. Not until you get to the solid yellow, like this color, is it considered an average or kind of healthier. And in the Arctic, here's the ozone. We've got heavy bands forming here from China up over Russia and over Alaska and here over Canada. But we can see that the northern part of Greenland has got thin ozone. Also around the North Pole it's thin, and then we've got this thinning area just north of Norway coming up to Svalbard and over the Barents Sea. Here's the global view, and we can see this whole western US region is in a thin, really thin area, and all the way across, kind of straight across, it's in the green there. We've got aqua showing up here in the Pacific, so that's the next color down from the blue-green. So we're losing the ozone layer. Anything greenish going down into the blues, and then the purples is less than desirable. And these are pictures from the La Palma Volcano Discovery page. This is a new lava flow, and it's going out into the ocean there. And here's another image of the lava flowing now. A model. That's all of those. Now we'll look at Climate Reanalyzer. This is 2-meter temperature anomaly for today. We can see the Baffin Bay is in the red and brown, and Greenland is red and brown, so that's warmer than normal. We've got reddish brown over the North Pole and swooping down across the Arctic Basin and across the Beaufort Sea, also brown here in the Kara Sea, and then a lot of Russia and these northern, in the Arctic regions here, is in the blue and the purple. So that's kind of keeping the temperature anomaly down. And we can see almost all the US is in the brown, so higher than normal. Here's the global view down here. See a lot of the Antarctic is in the brown. Now a lot of it had been in the red this week. And the Arctic had been in the minus, but see, that's going up now. It's 0.8 C higher than normal. The Antarctic is 1 C higher than normal. Northern hemisphere is up 0.9 C. The southern hemisphere is up 0.1 C. The tropics are up 0.3 C. And worldwide we're up 0.5 C higher than normal. Here's precipitation and clouds. We already looked at this with the rain at Iceland there. And there was rain in these little islands next to the western peninsula in the Antarctic. There was some rain down there this week. Here's the jet clumps. No jet streaming anymore. Now look at this big break here, where the cold air swoops down across Alaska and down, way down south in the Pacific, and also swooping down into Europe here. And over, then we've got we've got low coming in here, high pressure here over Greenland. So the jet stream broke last summer and it never got fixed. Can't fix that, I don't think. Look at this. It's schizophrenic today. We'll look at sea ice and snow cover in a minute. This is sea surface temperature anomaly. So here the Barents Sea is still a lot in the brown, a little bit of blue coming in, so that's colder than normal. It's still reddish brown around Svalbard and this North Atlantic, and brown around Greenland. See, see that pink? That's at the problem spot where we see methane popping up in the North Atlantic a lot of times. And then we've got reds and browns here in the North Atlantic. Here's our red spot in the South Pacific. This is kind of a persistent area in their summertime, and it will get worse as things heat up down there in the summer. And also see the red coming across the Pacific from Japan. Also red here between Japan and Russia. And see the waters are heating up around Australia and New Zealand. This happens all the time in the summertime down there. It can get a lot hotter than normal on the water, which is bad for all of their weather systems. Okay, next we'll look at La Palma. This is Zoom Earth. Let's see what we've got. Let's see. Let's go back. See the dust coming off of Africa. There it is. So here's the ash plume coming up and streaming to the southwest. Then we've got a cloud moving in, big cloud moving in. Let's zoom in here. I have the heat layer turned on, and we can see the lava still coming into the ocean here. Now we'll go. This is Volcano Discovery. Make sure we get the latest map of lava flows here. During the evening's press conference, the latest map was published showing the current state of lava flows, including the new ones from the past days and the fissure that opened yesterday shortly after noon. And then here's their main report for today. Lava flow from yesterday's new fissure advances over new land towards the sea. Visible activity at the vents has been mostly low today. Most of the time, only steaming could be seen from the craters, and only intermittent weak pulses of strombolian activity, and ash emissions only reaching a few hundred meters height. However, lava continues to flow from both the old vent areas, going mostly into the lava tube system, and the new fissure vents that had opened yesterday at 12:45 p.m. in an area 500 meters west of Montagne Cogote, south of Tudoke, in the middle of a populated but long since evacuated area. The new lava flow from this fissure traveled westwards along the southern margin of the existing flow field, covering new land and destroying additional buildings. Today it continued to advance towards the coast and was near a cliff in the Las Hoyas area this afternoon, but has not yet reached it. The latest count of destroyed buildings rose to 2,790, and the area now covered by lava flows increased by 9 hectares to now 1,155 hectares, or 1.55 square kilometers. There's a picture. Seismic activity has been decreasing further. During the last 24-hour reporting interval, the IGN detected only 35 quakes under the island, none of which was felt by the population at a wider scale. The quakes occurred under the central area of Cumbre Vieja, in the same areas as during the whole time of the eruption. 33 of these earthquakes were located at depths of 9 to 17 kilometers, and only 3 at depths greater than 34 kilometers. The amplitude of the volcanic tremor signal remains low and more stable than in previous days. Ground deformation. The island's network of permanent monitoring stations shows a complete reversal of the elevation recorded on December 2nd at station LPO3, which is the closest to the eruptive vents. At the other stations, slight deflation, possibly related to deep seismicity, has stabilized. Gas emissions. Emission of sulfur dioxide remains high, implying that there is still a log of magma available to erupt, although it has been on a decreasing trend. In the case of diffuse carbon dioxide emissions, values have been stable, but still well above background levels, or 5.3 times higher, according to the latest scientific data. So there's that. So we'll close those out. Now we'll move on to sea ice. Okay, we'll refresh. It's not refreshing. There we go. We'll come back to this. We're going to start with sea ice and snow cover from Climate Reanalyzer. I save these images every day. Here we are today. We can see a little fringe of ice coming around the coastline in the Hudson Bay area. The tributaries are icing up in Canadian archipelago. Here's the Baffin Bay, and see how there's this area just next to Greenland that's not freezing because it's just too warm. Here it's creeping down on this east side of Greenland. It's still open around these west and south sides of Svalbard, and it's come back on the rest of Svalbard. It's creeping down ever so slightly here in the Barents Sea. Here in the Kara Sea, it's creeping down towards the Russia coastline. This east side of Novaya Zemlya, that's all frozen. And we can see it's all frozen across to Russia. And then this is the Bering Strait, that's refreezing. And then around the Alaska and Russia coastlines, there's a little fringe of ice starting in the Okhotsk Sea. So let's see what's happened since last week. Here we were last Sunday, the 28th. So we'll see what happened. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not a lot of difference extent-wise, but you can see the white color, in these northern regions. That's where it's snowing. And see all this area of Russia, that's where it's snowing there. Now we'll move on. This is from the U.S. Navy. This is sea ice thickness model for the Arctic. Here's the color ledger on the right. It goes from light purple or lavender, which is about 1/2 meter thick right there, all the way up to dark red, which is about 5 meters thick, and all these colors in between. We're seeing mainly purple, Dark purple is about 1 meter thick. The blue is about 1.25 meters thick. The dark aqua is about 2 meters thick, or about 1.5 meters thick. The bright aqua is about 2 to 2.25 meters thick, like right in here, above Canada and just above Greenland. Then when you get into the greens, that's about 3 meters thick. Yellow is about 3.5 meters thick. So let's zoom in, see what we have here today. So we can see this Kara Sea is almost all refrozen. There's just a little hole right here next to Novaya Zemlya. And the Barents Sea, this is where we're seeing it brown, is warmer than normal on Climate Reanalyzer. That may stay open for a while. I don't even know if this is going to refreeze this year. Here it is around Svalbard. Here's the refreeze around this east side of Greenland, coming up in the Baffin Bay. There's a hole here next to Greenland. It's right at the end of the nearest strait. When we look at NASA Worldview, we will be able to see on the nighttime layer, there's a lot of open water here in the nearest strait. It's not completely frozen. We're seeing some aqua come in around coastlines, around the islands. Here's Komsomolets. This is the area where we're seeing the methane blowing out kind of constantly. This is the Laptev Sea. We were seeing methane come up here. Here's the East Siberian Sea. We were seeing methane come up here. And then here's the Bering Strait. It's just got a thin ice there. And then the Beaufort Sea is thickening. And then right above Canada and Greenland, this is where the thickest sea ice is. Now this little area was what was left of the thickest sea ice from this last year, and so it's building out, it's thickening out now a little bit. Here's the 30-day animation. It was updated to yesterday. So the data goes back 3 weeks, and the forecast period goes out to next Saturday. So let's see. Let's see what the forecast is here. Okay, I've stopped it at the end. So for next Saturday, this is where they're showing it. So mainly we're seeing darker purple moving into blues. The blues moving into aquas, mainly dark aqua. We just don't have that much of the bright aqua, just a little bit above Canada and above Greenland. We're seeing little hints of red here just above Greenland. A little hint here next to Canada there. This is the Beaufort Sea sea ice thickness for today. we can see it's thickening up to about 1.25 meters. Here mainly is the background color. And then here it's going into the aqua. We've got a little hint of red-orange here, so that's about 4 meters thick, just that little tiny sliver there. Alaska is here at the bottom, and Canada's here on the right. So let's run this 30-day animation. This was updated today, so the forecast period goes out to next Sunday, the 12th. I can't believe this year is over. I mean, it's all but over. I just can't believe we're still here. It is sliding down. That's because the ice drift, the way this gyre moves as it's freezing or refreezing, getting thicker, it's also sliding. So we'll see how much of this ends up down here in the Beaufort Sea. Now we'll go to the Antarctic. Here's the sea ice thickness for today. Now this is melting incredibly fast, and see this big hole just north of the continent is opening up. It's thinning out really quickly on this north end, and here on this east side, and here it's melted all the way up to the coastline. Here in this Ross Sea, see that's opened up, and on this western edge, see it's all opened up there. Here on this west side of the Western Peninsula, see it's open and it's just thinning down. We've got open water here around a lot of the Brunt ice shelf too. Now typically most of the ice melts in the summertime and then it refreezes. It has some hangs around. Generally we don't see all of it melt here in the Weddell Sea or down here off the west coast, but most of the other ice does pretty much melt down. Now we're seeing a lot of thinning out here in the Weddell Sea. Look at this. And this area, this whole area, we were seeing methane coming up on cams. And around the Brunt ice shelf and on the north side. This is the Amory ice shelf right in here. Methane coming up. Then down here on this west side of the Ross Sea and ice shelf, it's coming up. So there's that. Now this was posted on National Snow and Ice Data Center. This is as of yesterday, December the 4th. This is sea ice concentration, and we can see this matches up with the other models that we just looked at. And where it's the blue, it's not as concentrated, meaning there's a lot of open water between the pieces of ice. The leads are not refrozen on some of it, and it's also thin. here is the chart for yesterday, the sea ice extent. The blue line is this year. This dotted line is 2012. We're running kind of parallel with the 2012 line. Now 2012 was the year where it was the lowest extent in the summertime. But we're going to intersect this 2012. Now we got below the 2012 line during the winter. We got so anyway, we're running almost neck and neck with 2012 there. Here's the Antarctic. Now the golden line, that's the median for the refreeze, you know, where it's the most. But look how much it's melted in already. And here's the extent. So the blue line is this year. This greenish line is last year. The gray line is average. So we're going, it's kind of running parallel with last year. But it's much lower. Let's see, but it's kind of going down at the same rate there. That's all of those. Now, here's NASA Worldview. This is the sea ice concentration layer. I'll turn on the blue marble layer. So, when you see the different colors, that's where it's either freezing or thawing, and in this case it's freezing. So let's go here. We were last Sunday for the show. This is where we were. So let's just click through and see what happened. So it's just creeping. It's very slow. We've got some new ice forming down here off the coast of Greenland, and here where it's coming back in the Hudson Bay. Now we'll turn off that layer. We'll turn on the night layer. Get our bearings. I'm going to show you. See the colors here? That's showing where there are holes in the ice, and here's the hole next to Greenland. So we'll turn off the ice layer. See the dark? That's open water. This is in the Nares Strait. There's, see, this is Greenland here. This is Ellesmere Island on top. See the open leads there. See a lot of open water there. And then when we come down, here's just little fringe of ice there. It's mainly open all around here. Let's see. Look, here's some open water there. So it's not completely refrozen. Let's see. when you look at the models, you know, it looks like it's just one solid piece of ice, but it's really not. See, a lot of open waters still around the coastlines. Let's go back. Here's yesterday. This is the nearest strait. Here's the Lincoln Sea. There's a light. That's on land. Here are the leads going out. We can't really see that much with this model. It doesn't stay good. It's weird. You know, it's just different times of the year, different days. Here's Svalbard. Here's the east side of the ice. This is some kind of reflection there. See, there's open water. Anyway, let's move on. Turn that off. We're going to hop down to the Antarctic. So we're going to start. Where do we want to start? Let's start on this western peninsula. See, here's the open water on this western side. Here's Pine Island Glacier. It's covered with a cloud. And this is Thwaites Glacier. It's covered with a lot of clouds too. There's a lot of open water here. But it is melting. I'll show you. Okay, here it was on the 3rd. That's an open hole in the ice. Now, that jagged line across here is where it had calved off a couple of years ago. This is melting right here too. That's a hole. So it looks to me like this ice is going to melt. It's not very thick. See this ice. This had refrozen last year. It didn't thaw out during the summer, which I was kind of surprised about. But you can see it's melting and breaking off really fast. See that? See the pieces there? This is Thwaites Glacier. Here's the tongue coming down. Here's the break there. And see the pieces just coming off. Look at all this open water. Here's the coastline. See, more. Look at this. Well, that was the first. Let's go back to today. Here we go. Then, here's the Ross Sea. See, that's open. There's some ice down here. Here's Ross Island. There's Mount Erebus. This is melting fast. Look at this. Let's go back. Look at yesterday. See? Here's the Totten Glacier. This is the tongue, what's left of it. Here it was yesterday. This is a really good view. See how that all broke off? It's cracking off here, that it's cracked up. See the line there? And this is cracking. That tongue is going to come off there, it looks like. Look at all of this open water. Let's go back to today. Let's see. There's clouds. Here's the Amory ice shelf. We've got clouds covering it today. Here it was on the 1st. See, open there. Look at this. See that ice melting off there? Let's see when that started. See, that was solid just a few days before. See? Solid. Then look. Look. Wow. From the 28th to the 30th. Look, that big thing broke off. Then watch, it's going to be moving out. Look at that, it's cracking up there. All cloudy today. So, we'll be watching that. Here's the north end. Look at all that. That's all melted up to the little ice lip around the coast. See? Where's the hole? Right here. That's the hole. It's under a bunch of clouds. There it is. Here's the Brunt ice shelf all along here. Here it is. See, lots of open water. Here's the Weddell Sea, all in here. Here's the Weddell ice shelf. This, see that hole there? That's where A76 broke off. And A76 is right up here. We've got a cloud there, but I'll show you. Let's see. Here it is. See that? That's on the 30th. This is where it broke off, down here. And over there, winter time, it swung around and has been sliding up along this coastline on the Western Peninsula. So it's moving. Can't really see it right now, but we'll be following that. Here's the Western Peninsula. It's under clouds right now. Let's see, this ice has already melted away. Let's go back. Here it was on the 3rd. Look. That's melting. So it's come on up. There's the Western Peninsula, the tip. So it's down in here where it had been raining earlier this week. And that's it. Let's see. Yeah, we saw that. Now we'll go over some earthquakes. Here on USGS, we've got 211 in the last 24 hours. This is except for La Palma. They're not reporting on La Palma. See all these big dots? These are all 5s in the 5s range. We've got a lot of movement. Let's see. Lots of 5s. Now I want to turn on 7 days, all magnitudes. So for the last week, they're showing 1,793 earthquakes. We had 6.2 at Easter Island region, 6.0 Tuvalu, Indonesia, and we've had, look at all this movement, it's all the way around. Now I'm very concerned, this imperial fault line that comes down to the Cocos Plate. Look at all of this activity this week. And these were big. This was a 5.1. And then look up here. All of these in the Gulf of California. 11 here this week. That's a lot. So that's a lot of movement for right down here on this imperial fault line, and that becomes the San Andreas fault line just on the other side of the Salton Sea. So this whole area, look at this, all the way up. We've had more movement on the Juan de Fuca Plate this week. See, 4 there. 3.0 looks like was the biggest one. Oh, and I want to show today up here, this is at Mount Baker, another dormant volcano, a 0.9 other event. This is in Washington State. Other event came in at 3:24 this morning Pacific time, and the depth was at a negative 0.8 kilometers. And I'm seeing a lot more shallow earthquakes or negative depth earthquakes as well. Here is Mount Rainier. Let's see, we've got 6 here. Here's an explosion. That doesn't help matters any. Anyway, we had look at all this moving in the Aleutian Islands. Here was a 5.1 at Nikolsky, and a 5.2 at Adak. And it's just never ending. So I do believe we're in the end times. And it was prophesied of by Jesus. He said there would be earthquakes in divers places, and he listed off a whole list of things that would be in the end times. But chaotic weather, lots of earth changes, lots and lots of earth changes, and we're seeing that. I believe we're living in the end times, and I believe that Jesus, a lot of us will see Jesus return. Look at this one that just came in. 5.6 Kermadec Islands region. And the best way to be prepared for all of this is spiritually prepared. Do you have your spiritual house in order? If you died tonight, do you know where your soul would go? So, this is why I like to read a Bible reading at the end of all of the shows, to bring it back to a spiritual perspective, for us to see the big picture that we're more than just these 3D bodies. So tonight we're reading out of the book of Mark. This is the last chapter in Mark. This is Mark chapter 16, and it's the resurrection of Christ. The chapter 15 was his crucifixion, and then chapter 16 is his resurrection. Mark chapter 16. And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of James and Salome had bought sweet spices, that they might come and anoint him. And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came unto the sepulchre at the rising of the sun. And they said among themselves, Who shall roll us away the stone from the door of the sepulchre? And when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away, for it was very great. And entering into the sepulchre, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, clothed in a long white garment, and they were affrighted. And he saith unto them, Be not affrighted. Ye seek Jesus of Nazareth, which was crucified. He is risen. He is not here. Behold the place where they laid him. But go your way, tell his disciples and Peter that he goeth before you into Galilee. there shall ye see him, as he said unto you. And they went out quickly, and fled from the sepulchre, for they trembled and were amazed, neither said they anything to any man, for they were afraid. Now when Jesus was risen early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils. And she went and told them that had been with him, as they mourned and wept. And they, when they had heard that he was alive, and had been seen of her, believed not. After that he appeared in another form unto 2 of them, as they walked and went into the country. And when they went and told it unto the residue, neither believed they them. Afterward he appeared unto the 11, as they sat at meat, and upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. And he said unto them, Go ye into all the world, and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils. They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents. And if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. So then after the Lord had spoken unto them, he was received up into heaven, and sat on the right hand of God. And they went forth, and preached everywhere, and the Lord working with them, and confirming the word with signs following. Amen. Mark chapter 16. So here we are, another week closer to the end. And like I said before, if you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I highly recommend it. He is the way, the truth, and the life, and the only way to his Father's kingdom, heaven, is through him. It's a spiritual battle that we're in here, and Jesus is the only one that can defeat Satan. And without him, we're nothing, but with him, we can endure, and we will endure till the end. So I love you all, and I'm praying for you. Until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.